Today on 21st Century Business, explore state-of-the-art technology, innovative business strategies, insights from cutting-edge corporations around the globe, a visionary look into the answers of tomorrow, today. Business leaders, business solutions, 21st Century Business.
Accidental spills of petroleum and other hydrocarbons happen fairly often, ranging from spills of a few gallons during refueling to massive spills that make news, like during the Gulf War of 1991 and the Exxon Valdez disaster in 1989. The question is, how do you bring an area back to its pre-spill condition without harming the environment in other ways? Joining us to talk about innovations in bioremediation is Stephen Pedigo, Chairman and CEO of a company called OSEI. Welcome, Stephen.
Hello.
Also joining us, our in-house environmental expert, Roger Ballantyne, President of Green Strategies. Welcome, Roger.
Thanks, Jackie. Good to be here.
Stephen, let me ask you, it looks like the name of your company came from the name of your product. Tell us what OSE stands for and what it is.
OSE stands for Oil Spill Eater, and it is a bioremediation process, and OSE literally means what the product does.
Incredible. Roger, is it true that bioremediation can turn an oil spill mess into basically carbon and water? And how important is this development?
Well, it's extremely important when you consider that there are literally tens of thousands of oil spills every year in the United States alone. We hear about the big ones, but there really is a lot. If Mother Nature were left to her own devices to deal with these types of things, eventually natural processes would break down things like oil into constituent parts like water and carbon dioxide. The problem is it takes a long, long time.
Sure.
What bioremediation can do is really replicate that natural process with no harmful side effects, but really accelerate it to a matter of days or even hours, that's pretty exciting.
Stephen, how was your product OSE developed and when?
Well, it was invented in 1989. I had tried to develop a product that would break down body oil and baby oil in swimming pools, and then came the Valdez spill. So I tweaked it and did a little research and put together a product that would convert hydrocarbons to CO2 and water.
So, Stephen, how did you come to realize that you had a very viable product on your hands?
Dr. Brown, University of Alaska Fairbanks, who was a participant in trying to find a solution for the Valdez spill, requested some product. A month after he started testing, he called us and was extremely excited. He said, "We found a solution." And he said, "It's amazing how well your product works."
The Exxon Valdez disaster was really the first spill OSE was used on. How did that help your product develop credibility?
We were actually used with the Homer Volunteer Group on 50 feet of beach and cleaned it up.
Wow.
And so that was instant credibility as to how the product would work.
Now you're into the second version, OSE 2. How is OSE 2 used?
It's used by mixing it with water, and you apply it to a spill either on soil or on water, and you apply it at a 1-to-1 ratio just by spraying it on, and then it starts breaking it down. In a matter of time, it becomes CO2 and water.
Roger, how does this compare to traditional cleanup methods?
Well, it's quite different. I mean, there's different ways that you can deal with an oil spill, for example. One way that we're probably most familiar with is actually physical removal, whether it's vacuuming up or wiping it off, and that can help.
And where do you put that stuff, though? Then
where do you put that? And it's a very really inefficient process, and there's no way you're going to get everything clean with that process. The other way, there's chemical type treatments where you're applying chemicals to a contaminated area, and very often those chemicals can treat some of the bad aspects of the spill. The problem is they very often create other problems because you are applying non-natural chemicals to the situation. And there's ways that people literally absorption sponge up things, but none of those are really a pure and complete solution without environmental side effects. So bioremediation is, in that sense, quite interesting.
It really makes a lot of sense. Stephen, where is OSE 2 used, and roughly how many spills has OSE 2 cleaned up now?
Well, OSE 2 is used on soil, on pavement, on fresh water, ocean water, and over the last 20 years, OSE 2 has cleaned up over 13,000 spills.
So, Stephen, what about the use of OSE2 in really sensitive areas like marshes, wetlands, estuaries, places like that?
It's more preferable than any of the other methods, like you mentioned, the mechanical methods. You have to go in and you literally destroy the ecosystem to get in there to vacuum it up. Right. With OSE2, you can spray it from the edges, outward bound, and remediate it in place without actually disturbing one leaf.
And not harming wildlife?
It won't harm wildlife at all. In fact, we've had cleanups where we applied it on an oil-coated surface, and 30 minutes after applying it, a snake climbed out of the oil-coated water, and the oil wouldn't adhere to him.
Roger, what are you hearing that would seem to make OSE2 the best cleanup product and process to be used on spills?
Well, what I like hearing Stephen explain is the ability to use this product to remediate spills in very environmentally sensitive areas. And certainly in the United States, we consider our entire coastlines very important, sensitive environmental areas. The ability to get a more complete cleanup without harmful side effects on wildlife, and we've all seen the pictures of the birds.
Oh,
and,
sure,
and
sure.
It's not only heart-wrenching, but for the ecosystem, it really represents long-term damage. So the ability to treat a very unfortunate contaminated situation in a way that brings it back without any harmful environmental side effects is really exciting.
And last question, Stephen, tell us about your company's growth and about your projections for the future.
Well, OSCI has grown every year since we started in 1989. We had a great year last year, and because of the spills like the Gulf War spill in Kuwait that has still not been cleaned up, which we were just pre-qualified for, we expect to have a huge year this year.
That's great. That's great.
Well, if it cleans up spills that well and is that cost effective, no wonder your numbers are that good. So thanks for sharing the details with us, Stephen.
Thank you.
And Roger, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you. Great to be here.